Gigi Berardi recording FoodWISE tonight and continuing with the third kind of science, quasi-experimental research design to study food preferences, food sensory profiles, food sensibilities, perceptions. And the section is entitled The Sensory Science, the Taste Experience. The study of artisanal foods from very localized areas and small batch production, inevitably made a bit differently each time, presents challenges for sensory scientists, particularly in controlled settings. Highly standardized industrial style foods are ready-made, so to speak, for such studies. Trying to sort out what makes a consumer reliably like a food is not difficult in a laboratory setting where you can control for other variables and use standardized foods. Artisanal foods, on the other hand, can vary dramatically from day to day and season to season. And there is a young sensory scientist, Jacob Lani, and I'm going to talk about his work tomorrow, continuing on with FoodWISE. These challenges are basically first world problems. That is where this science is happening that I'm talking about. The article tonight from the Washington Post is also a first world problem, but it comes back to part one of FoodWISE, labor. And I don't know if you remember me talking about the origin story, if you will, of the United States Farm Bill. Began almost 100 years ago in the early 1930s, beginning almost 100 years ago, with the Agricultural Adjustment Act to stop the erosion of farm prices and control production at a national, federal level, vantage point, I'll say. And no accommodation was made for farm labor rights at that time. And that is stuck, and it is still the case. And so this article from the Washington Post looks at problems from Washington State, where I live, to Florida State and elsewhere, regarding personal protection equipment and coronavirus precautions, testing, safety protocols for agricultural workers, basically non-existent, very challenging. Transportation of farm workers also not protected. And you know, in a way, it's almost a too easy article to write. It's almost, as a journalist, I mean, you just conduct interviews and pretty much people are saying the same thing, that there's very little protection in place. And I have identified labor now that I've written FoodWISE, and I'm reviewing it basically in these vlogs. It is very clear to me that labor is the social capital major issue that needs to be addressed in terms of integrity of our food system and maintaining a reliable food chain, if you will. And sustainable fish, I think, is one of our more natural, if you will, but it's really humanly managed natural resources in terms of natural capital that remains a challenge, which I barely addressed in the 5 pages in FoodWISE. But to be honest, and naturally, it is the human factor I'm concerned about. So I'd like you to read this article tonight, and maybe you will feel the same way.